I mean, a sponsor is a sponsor, and we could certainly use all those precious extra listens we can get our hands on. But this is ludicrous, Donald.
Hey man, I'm not the guy who gives out the information to literally every company that served the state groveling for sponsorships.
But seriously, this is fetid. It's the stinkiest one we've ever had to do. Like, normally, I wouldn't mind reading a prepared script in advertising just about anything, because that was honestly what I envisioned and kind of ripped off for the initial ones. But even I have a line, and this putrid garbage is well across that.
Come on, you know there's no way I could keep a straight face and do it. Heck, I might not even finish reading the script before gagging. You have to take the one for the team here, bro.
At least it's only my morals that are assaulted by the smell and not my olfactories. This reeks! I can't believe you're forcing me to do this bit.
Well, go on then. I'm bequeathing the floor to you. Spare me the trouble and make sure we get those wonderful smelling listens from dragging our show through the muck for it.
I'm not sure which is sadder. The fact that this company is desperate enough for extra PR that they'd come to us, or the fact that we're legitimately considering doing this rather than just chucking it in the dumpster where it belongs.
At least they gave us a script. It could be worse. You might have to create a talking point about this rank product. Imagine having to invent good things to say. They even gave us company lines about how useful this stuff is.
I thought about putting my foot down, Donald. I honestly did. But then I realized that you'd probably play a practical joke by sticking the product down under my foot, and I'd literally be... yeah. So gross, I can't stand it. Why do I have to do this, Donald?
If you can't do it, we'll lose out on the extra funds and such. We need that support, right? Why else do we constantly plug our own stuff into subscriber accounts?
But this isn't a cheap plug, Donald. Quality-wise, it's in the toilet for even our worst attempts at humor.
Just do the damn ad, David. You have 10 seconds or I'm booting you off the show for good. Carl! I've got my replacement ready to go. If you don't do this, I got Carl ready to go. He looks just like you. He will be my new co-host and new best friend.
Okay.
If you don't do this.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll just grit my teeth, put a clothespin on my nose, grin and bear it. Today's episode of The Repeat is brought to you by the... Oh, God, Donald, I can't handle it!
Carl, I might need you still. Be on standby.
Today's episode of The Ritwit is brought to you by the lovely folks at Compost Solutions Incorporated. Please take a whiff of their newest product, soon as your sniffer is able. Have you ever needed a little extra dung to keep burglars out of your trash? Ever desired to harness the power of au naturel fertilizer for your gardening needs? Wouldn't you like to prime the pump for those days when constipation has you by the sphincter? Then try our revolutionary new idea now. Available at any of our stores and even online, our new repackaged fecal matter will serve all those crazy needs and even more. Having all kinds of feces for ideas? Then add some extra feces taken from the finest producers and discover how many ways to use fecal matter today. Use promotion code RITWIT at checkout and we'll even throw in some high-grade fresh stuff with your order. Repackaged fecal matter. Guaranteed to work on your projects or your money back. No bullshit, unless it did in fact come from a bull.
Of course. We did it, buddy. We made it to the ultimate cheese. We sell the product that has absolutely nothing to do with writing and spread word of mouth because we're that good. Just take that away from this horrendous experience that... David, are you okay? Did I come back to finish the episode? It's okay, I'll give you a minute. Great job reading the script, David. Carl! You're free to go!
Why?
I'll call you later, Carl! You're still on standby! Welcome, fellow nerds, to another episode of The Ritwit, the show with worse takes on writing than if Michael Bay became a film critic. Side note, I think you should absolutely become a film critic. Might be to shake up those old stale farts need to stay relevant. Anyways, where was I?
Something about we're on the Ritwit, and welcome back, listeners.
Well, the nice thing about those kind of stale old fart critics are a bit ubiquitous, I might say.
And speaking of which, the vocabulary vitamin of the month is that very same word, ubiquitous.
Yay!
ubiquitous. A simple definition for you?
No, U-B-I-Q-U to it.
UBIQ. No.
You said I-B.
No, I said UBIQ.
No, I know you said...
I said UBI.
Yeah, I-B-I.
IBU. No.
U-B-U and I-B-I. Anyways.
No, UBI-IBU, and we'll call it good. No, all right. So the definition is that it's present everywhere. A sample sentence for you. Even overseas, you will realize that McDonald's restaurants are ubiquitous. Not that their menus are identical.
I like how you cleared your throat for that. Just for some important stuff here. We interrupt this
I
program.
probably need some more podcast juice. That's what it is. Anyway, go out there and take your vitamin, listeners. Until next set. But hey, before we go, if you want to send in the excerpts of you using the vocab vitamins of the month and you'd like us to share those with our other listeners, please let us know. Get in touch with us. We'll tell you how at the end of the episode.
Having a fan actually show us their writing and using their episode, that'd be so cool. It'd be almost surreal, wouldn't you say? And speaking of which, we're talking about, in our next thing of slightly fantasy stories, surrealism.
Surreal, bro. It's so real, it's surreal.
Whoa! Is that where the etymology of the word comes from?
Highly doubt it.
Anyways, in the next of our set about slightly fantasy stories, we're talking about surrealism.
Okay, whatever.
I'm just saying it in a more official manner.
Oh, okay.
Which actually has quite a history behind it. We'll only talk about a bit, and we'll more talk about how to write it and how to represent it.
So, just a blanket statement. If you want to learn more, go look it up. You can probably find a place.
Surrealism was a movement after World War I intended to make art that uses unnerving and illogical scenes to activate the unconscious mind through this imagery.
Ooh.
In layman's terms, dreamlike.
Yeah.
Our dreams are projections of the unconscious or subconscious, and surrealist works use this to create pieces of art beyond the scope of reality that, although bizarre, has great significance.
Sure.
Fully surrealist works are rare nowadays. The movement started losing steam by the 1960s.
Well, and because you said it was the 60s, I'm sure a slightly changed derivation came up in the 60s.
Yeah, when surrealism just became realism for some people.
No, where it just became about all the time for certain people.
I know.
Anyway,
Woodstock, man.
You had to be there.
Well, I wasn't. So.
No, neither was I.
I was barely a twinkle in my father's balls. Anyways.
I don't know if your father would have been able to have kids about 1960s, but anyway, maybe Woodstock itself, I guess.
I mean, he was going through puberty in the 60s anyway. So
we're very sorry, Dad, if you're listening.
Anyway. All right. So Alice in Wonderland predates the movement, but has a lot of the elements.
Sure.
Whereas the movies Joe versus the Volcano, Big Fish, and even 300 have a lot of surrealism to them.
And something that I think you skipped over, so I'm just going to catch it is real quick, that, I mean, surreal elements in stories still do exist today. It's simply the movement is no longer as prominent as it was back then.
Yeah. Surrealism as a whole stories are rare, but stories with surreal elements are quite common. Also, I'd argue that Inception, even though it has a lot of surreal elements in it like that, it doesn't count because it has a clear in-universe explanation.
Yeah.
We are in dreams, and this is what's happening in the dreams. This is the subconscious.
Well, I mean, we have dreams, but typically we have dreams every night.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those would seem surreal, but it's not like it changes the fact that we're living in a real world.
Right. But this is a real world. They're just going into someone else's dream. I guess it maybe it counts. It definitely uses this surreal stuff in it, but I don't know if it counts because it kind of like in surrealist works, it's kind of treated that these surreal things are their real world. Like the surreal and the real coalesce. Mm-hmm. So
they converge.
Yeah.
Man, all of the
Anyways, what are the benefits of writing this subgenre? Well-worn question.
Yeah, we're going to make this thing even rattier. I guess we're going to have to put on the pants of that discussion, which are what are the detriments, but that's a different story.
Those are the pants of
Who
it.
said we needed pants? We're in a studio. Nobody can see us.
I'm not wearing pants. I'm Winnie the Poohing this. Got a big red shirt, no pants.
Peek behind the curtain if you cared. His shirt ain't red right now. Anyway.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, I suppose the benefits of surrealism. I mean, your imagination can run wild.
Yes.
It's all allowed. And you don't even need to go on an acid trip to justify its inclusion. Plot holes? What is the plot in a story like this? Sudden changes? Chalk it up to a quick alteration.
Sudan changes.
I guess it autocorrected.
That's my favorite African country.
Sudden changes? Chalk it up to a quick alteration in mental condition as you write and let it go. In the words of Elsa. Stream of consciousness is like the tip of the iceberg for this kind of stuff. I'm over here, but suddenly this is important. And now I'm back over in a completely different place.
Oh, you're giving me whiplash trying to look at all these different places.
Made up words that don't have to make sense, could fit a rhyme, or blow it up just for the hell of it. All of that is fair game in this subgenre.
Oh, yes, of course.
But what do I know? I mean, my subconscious is suddenly telling me otherwise.
So the way I see it, a part of storytelling is exaggeration. Whether you make something, when you make something bigger than it actually is, or weirder or cooler, that kind of thing. That's a lot of people do that. And surrealism, in its most basic form, is the exaggeration of something primal.
I would go so far as to say it isn't even simply exaggeration, that it gets to hyperbole.
Yeah, but it's like in its most basic form. That's what I.
Well, the basic concept being blown up beyond that.
Like, what better way to convey someone stuck in a desert than making it more wide and flat than possible, with the sun taking up a third of the sky and lone cattle skulls as big as mountains? That's surrealism.
Well, or you could just be a character in A Bug's Life and everything's huge.
See, that's the in-universe explanation for it. So, it's not just weird imagery. It's weird imagery with a purpose.
That's true.
It means something. Like in 300, for instance, I said this has a lot of surrealism, and it does. The point of that surrealism, it has these Spartans with their cool armor doing these impossible feats, going up against this impossible army.
And a bunch of slow-mo because Zack Snyder.
The skies are blood red. There's literally scenes where Sparta is bathed in light, and then they go into the darkness. These impossibly big armies, these arrows that blot out the sun, all this is to convey one thing: the Spartans are the biggest badasses in history.
It's like 300 is based on a graphic novel or something.
Right, but that's
So
the thing. It's using that surreal elements to say the purpose is we're portraying the Spartans as inhumanly badass.
Well, yeah, there is that. Well, I mean, but I mentioned that 300 is a graphic novel. And
Frank Miller.
yeah, and there is such a difference, I think, between taking somebody on that journey when they can't see what you're seeing, they're just seeing an approximation of words on the page, and where the director has all say over how this shot looks, such that the Spartans are bathed in light and they're going into the trenches,
right?
They're completely shadowed or whatever.
Well, I think also in that movie there is a point to it too, but it kind of gets lost on some people. And also, to be fair, it's confusing because the sequel kind of says, oh, this is real how it is. It's meant to be this thing because it's this one Spartan telling the story. He's deliberately exaggerating it.
Of course. It's
Spartan propaganda.
He'd be talking up his comrades.
That's the point of it, because it's narrated by one of the Spartans who comes back. He is overplaying it to say, we the Spartans are badass.
We did this.
We face these
Paul Bunyan-esque.
We face these terrible monsters when we come out on top.
Well, I mean, the legend of there was a series of skits on Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
About Bill Brasky, and they'd have a bunch of guys come into a bar, and somebody would say, Bill Brasky, and the other people at the bar are like, Bill Brasky. And they start talking about regaling them with legendary feats that Bill Brasky apparently did. And
wow. Doug Walker totally stole that joke for his pirate things. He'd talk about Bloodbeard Joe and all these different...
Well, I mean, the idea of something feeling larger than life.
Yes.
Because he's not there to really corroborate anymore. The Spartans were gone, and so the one that happened to get away... Of course, it's a bit of hero worship on the part of his comrades and feeling that brotherly honor, et cetera, and so forth. But it becomes, in the retelling, a legend as opposed to just a story.
And that's the thing. And again, like the sequel muddies that a little bit because it shows these other events not told by him that's just as exaggerated. So
well, I mean, that could be chalked up to the director.
Yeah, the director wasn't. Zack Snyder just produced the sequel. So.
Oh, okay, fine.
It is kind of interesting that the first one is mainly in a red filter, and it's about the Spartans, while the sequel, it's been a blue filter.
And it's mostly about the Persians.
It's about the Athenians.
I do not recall. But anyway, yeah.
They're both fighting the Persians. It's different fronts of the same war. So
Got it.
anyways.
Because all empires must fall. But, trying to wrap it back around to a question to make a fun segue that you blew past.
Anyways, surrealism imagery in movies and television and theater are quite impactful, like some of the things we've been talking about.
Why do you think I was talking about it?
But how do you convey some surrealism into your written works without the handy tools of visual medium? It's a loaded question, isn't it?
It's a really hard question because, I have a really difficult time doing honor to the thing that I see in my head and then putting it on page. Especially for Power Rangers fan fictions, you have a morph sequence.
Right.
And if you watch it on TV, they have the specific visuals, and you try and, energize it, make it fun. But how you see it and how you describe it most likely are not going to give someone else the same picture.
Exactly. Well, imagine some poor schmuck having to, describe for a book or whatever the Sailor Moon transformation sequence.
Speaking of Doug Walker and the Nostalgia Critic, I'm just thinking, what are the monsters doing when they're transforming anyway? And he's like, I'm gonna get you, Grime! Prism power!
And then it's just a chair that says "back for lunch," gone for lunch or something.
Well, I mean, a couple of looks later, but anyway, we are not sponsored by Channel Awesome or the Nostalgia Critic.
I've heard they really went down there's a big controversy for what happened to Channel Awesome. It kind of fell apart. So,
Went down
but
the toilet,
in the late 2000s, early 2010s,
went down the toilet, you might say. Maybe we should sell them repackaged fecal matter.
Oh God, never again!
Please no, you forced me to do that. You think you're griping?
You wrote that skit. Nah, I did force you to do that. So.
Wow, peek behind the curtain or just tear the whole damn thing off.
I did say, hey, I need a skit. I don't want to do
but
four of them in a week.
But in the mythology of the skit itself, you forced me to do it. Anyway.
I apologize.
Anyway.
I'm sorry. I don't care about continuity anyway.
Obviously not. All right, but a thought before simply using purple prose and just having too many words to describe something that's supposed to be simple but really isn't.
Yes.
Choose different adjectives.
Oh, yes.
And if possible, different verbs when you're just writing a sequence that's supposed to be surreal. Stress how atypical these shapes, occurrences, what have you, are compared to our world.
Right.
While I'm guilty of doing this for my own answers on this podcast, avoid blocks of text describing something.
You don't just do that for answers on this podcast. You do this for everything, man.
I do it for Nano.
Your Facebook posts. I remember... to get a little dark here.
Oh, gosh.
During your father's funeral.
Oh, boy.
I was listening to your eulogy that you gave. You and your brother both gave separate eulogies.
Yep.
And about 10 minutes in, I was like, oh, crap. Matt wrote this eulogy.
Really?
We're going to be here for another 30 minutes, guys.
That wasn't true. It was
no,
like
it
15.
wasn't. And then your brother did it. It was like 5 minutes.
Well, and I seem to remember one of the lines he said was, I'm not nearly as...
Right.
verbose as my brother.
I just thought that was funny. It's okay, though. We all have our strengths, so...
And I guess mine is bad. But, I mean, instead of making it wall of text, you have to do indents and stuff. You can have all of those things in description, but, you can't just make it one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or else the reader's going to be like, oh, my God, and they'll start going cross-eyed. That said... Find natural breaks. Use strong enough vocab that readers are instilled with some... strange image in their heads. It probably can't match yours, and that's the way of things. But by suggesting morphing blobs that constantly prism different colors and light bending through the subspace, things that, don't typically happen.
Kaleidoscopes, that kind of thing.
They'll get enough of an image to go on. Of course, purple prose with some non sequitur events and descriptions may suffice too. But that's the Nano winner in me talking.
I think, some good descriptions like that are good. And also, I think, more than just... I don't think you should just literally describe what's going on. You gotta, be abstract in it. So, while saying, I was looking at my car, and then my car changed into a horse, and then the horse suddenly grew an extra head, and then suddenly the horse flew away. That's pretty surreal, but the way I'm writing it there...
It's pretty like plain Jane, the way you're writing that.
Yeah, it's like I went to my car, and then somehow I don't know.
I went to my car, but suddenly...
I saddled up.
The bottom fell out.
I went to my car, and then I saddled up, and then my horse I used the horsepower, and then the horse grew an extra head.
Use the horsepower. Are you familiar?
And then as I was driving down the road on my two-headed horse,
Are
I
you-
pushed the flight button. That's a little...
Are you familiar with the term synesthesia?
I have heard the term maybe once or twice. I'm not sure what it means. Elaborate, please.
Synesthesia is when your senses are almost cross-wired.
Like I can smell the color purple?
Exactly.
Okay.
So your ears, you hear things with your mouth. You see things with your nose. You taste things with your eyes. Kind of.
I actually talk about that a little in my
cross-wired
question.
backward. Why do you think I was bringing it up?
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you read it. I take this show so seriously, listeners.
You've glossed over 2 of my segues now. Great
No,
job.
this is part of my plan all along. My
What?
surreal plan.
What? To just frustrate me so I don't come back? No.
What is this podcast if not just the sheer manifestation of frustration between 2 single white writers that are like...
I was about to make a joke, but I will refrain.
He refrained. His lips were sealed shut with a zipper, and then he locked himself into a safe. That's surreal, right?
Sure, we'll go with that.
Anyways, description is key, but not accurate description. Description of the physical being, abstract definition, aka synesthesia, is key.
Well, synesthesia is one kind, but yes.
This thing smelled like the color yellow, which, ew. This place looked like a migraine. This thing tasted like fury. Why are all these negative? I don't know. I'm in a weird headspace.
Apparently so, but that's the perfect headspace to write surreal. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Oh man, there are some things you can do. Well, we'll get to that. I actually don't do those things, or do
Or do
Anyway,
are you gonna say that or?
The point is, be creative in these abstract definitions and use them to inspire certain subconscious emotions in your readers. When I say that my mind feels like a broken piano, what do you think? What does that mean?
Plays one note.
See, I have no idea what that
It
means.
means different things for different people.
I was going with the feeling of something huge and complex in shambles. Did I convey that? I don't know.
Well, I mean, a piano is very complex and usually is pretty huge.
But I like that it's also one note. So if
well,
it's
I mean,
broken,
you know, if it's it could be. How many various ways a piano can break are myriad, so there is that. But like, what you say in your books generally inspires thoughts in your readers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you go with the script, Grandma's cookies, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that smell." Sometimes you say that thing smelled like the color yellow, and everyone's like, "Huh?" And that's how it works.
Well, it's like the difference between similes and metaphors. Like, I read this in a book a long time ago. I think it was like How to Write Funny or something. Very inspirational book because I am very funny.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I'm not funny at all. But anyways, so
he likes it only in his own mind, listeners. All right.
hopefully, and all 12 of our listeners. But anyways, they talk about how a simile is my feet smell like 2 blobs of old cheese. A metaphor is my feet are 2 stinky blobs of old cheese.
And just about as crumbly. Anyway.
What? Ew! Why are my feet crumbling?
Because it's old cheese. Anyway.
I know, but I don't get that in terms of the context of feet.
Degenerative tissues? I don't know. Anyway.
Those poor people.
Those
we
very
need
poor
feet
people.
to walk.
Maybe they don't.
This is a sci-fi future.
I mean,
we all have
have
jetpacks.
been amputated. So.
I guess that's true. Something more mundane than that. Regard.
Just a quick thought. I mean, right now, today's society is kind of nuts.
Yeah, a little.
Kind of nuts. So I'm just going to ask your opinion on this, Donald. Is there anything preventing a resurgence in surrealism with today's society?
I don't think there's anything preventing it, other than maybe just people realize now. There's a lot of people who want to escape from it, and that's true, but there's also a lot more people now than I think there used to be that know we have to confront the issues of the modern day and make them work, and...
Well, certainly we have the civic responsibility to make the world a better place, but because, I mean, my typical approach with reading is I want to escape.
Right.
And so you'd think that a surreal thing that takes you... Suddenly, you're no longer by your car anymore.
Whoa!
You'd think that this would almost be like a perfect time for a resurgence in surrealism to a point.
That would be. And if you want some escapism, buy my book on Amazon.com, Megazoic, available for print and Kindle.
All right, and that's the first one of this set.
Yeah. Oh, we're only 2 in. Give it time.
We're going to make up for it, is what you're saying? All right.
God, I hope not.
You're almost to having the button.
Anyways, yep, so close. And I'm so close to hiring that intern.
All right, but...
Anyways, are there certain methods to get into a headspace to write surreal content without doing something your body probably shouldn't?
I have this thing where if you fixate on one thing for too long, everything starts to be weird. So so stare deeply into things that move.
That's how I got my restraining order, yes.
Stare deeply at an inanimate thing that moves.
Okay, yes, no, of course.
The flickers within your probably electric fireplace. Dew patterns on leaves of the trees, rainwater hitting the windows and contorting and rolling down, wind disrupting the position of trees in your neighborhood. Within those, if you stare long enough, you will notice something quixotic, unusual.
Ooh, I like that word, quixotic.
It's a similar phenomenon to repeating a word too many times on your screen and suddenly realizing just how weird it is to be spelled that way.
Quixotic, 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 quixotic.
Anyway, take that image and imprint it in your mind's eye such that when you're lying awake in bed, the morass of darkness behind the eyelids constantly shifts form and weaves extra colors in as you try to fall asleep.
REM cycles.
Try mimicking the sounds that are occurring if there's a shifting fabric in the space your character inhabits. Perhaps your imagination is very fertile for all the silly reasons akin to mine, and you don't need any aids to help you get you there other than like a keyword phrase or something. Maybe a thesaurus to help you find a perfectly cromulent but rare and extravagant word.
Perfectly cromulent word, yeah.
If so, you best change careers and write these books for a living, I think. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
meditation.
I'm living off of this stuff.
Meditation.
A Guide on Surrealism, forward by Matthew Donald.
Altering what you know is there. So color.
Yes.
Sound.
Yes.
Light.
Smells.
Altering them through any means you can. These means might provide you the impetus to describe something so strange that it must have occurred in a dream.
Well, speaking of dreams, like a lot of people are very particular.
Well, peculiar might work too.
Very particular about how they sleep. So altering it slightly can help put your mind in a different place and stimulate dreams you can use for inspiration. Like me, for instance. I like sleeping in a short-sleeve t-shirt, long pajama pants, and barefoot.
Ditto.
So if I were to sleep without a shirt and boxer shorts while wearing socks, I'd have some weird-ass dreams, let me tell you.
No guarantees of that, but they'd likely be strange.
I wrote this in the notes here for what we're going to do like a couple days ago, and I was seriously considering actually trying it, but then I was like, but I want to sleep well. So I could let you know if it works, but I didn't want to. I'll do it for the Patreon.
Do it for the people. Got to give them what they want.
All right,
hey, if you want to hear about that experiment, let us know, and we'll tell you how to get in touch with us in a bit here.
Oh God, that just leaves us down a deep dark rabbit hole. We're like, do this thing.
I mean, let's be real. How frequently do people contact us about changing your sleep patterns?
I'll subscribe to the $100 Patreon tier if
he sends me a personal note. No, I'm kidding. Anyway.
If he sends me a vial of my blood.
I want to be blood brothers. All right.
Oh God.
You haven't done that, but are there other examples that aren't dream-like?
Think of universal concepts of things about real world and then represent them in a completely different way. Like, quick, draw me a cartoon fish that visualizes the wealth divide in America.
So one that's living is floating up and one that's died.
Ooh, see, I was thinking about this when writing this. Do it with one fish. That's surrealism, baby.
Okay.
Because, yeah, it'd be easy to just do two different fish.
I see.
Do it on one fish, man.
Yeah, good luck with that. You get like a half droop on the...
Yep, two-face fish. One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. Anyways.
One face, two face. No, anyway.
Red face, blue face. The lesser-known brother of Dr. Seuss's classic.
And speaking of Dr. Seuss, he comes up in this next question, I think.
Does he? Oh, yeah, he does. What are the differences between surreal and nonsensical, or does such a difference exist? for nonsensical, like The Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll, or inventing words just for the sake of rhyme, Dr. Strange. Not Dr. Strange. Dr. Seuss.
He is strange, but he was never a poet, let's say that.
He was never a neurosurgeon either.
Seuss was never a neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
All right. Given the two...
That we know of.
Given the two examples I think of with nonsensical, both The Jabberwock and Dr. Seuss's penchant for putting in words just to fit a rhyme, maybe there really isn't a difference here. Originally, I wanted to say that nonsensical lacks a purpose and simply exists when maybe it doesn't even need to.
Right, that's what I would say.
Contrasting that with surreal, where these things are included for a reason, even if they strain our brain to understand. But that makes light of Dr. Seuss's impeccable devotion to rhyme above all else. And the Jabberwocky poem includes terms that must make sense given the proper context. I guess that particularly is comparable to, I guess that poem particularly is comparable to a secret code language, which only those on the inside can appreciate without fierce mental limbo.
That's the thing, and I talk about this too, like in my answer, where I talk about like how yes, surrealism has meaning, nonsensical has no meaning. But you're right though, that does sell nonsensicalism short.
Yeah.
So like I think you're right. Like nonsensical stuff,
It just is there. It doesn't need to be there.
It doesn't need to be there, and it might have a meaning, but it is acting like it doesn't. So,
anyways, our subconscious or even unconscious and the rate at which our dreams change, they are nonsensical. Trying to apply order to them is like asking oil and water to mix, which yields expected results.
I had a dream a couple weeks ago.
Oh, boy.
About
must have been a really, really prominent dream for you to actually remember it this long.
There was this one part where there was this girl, a girl I do not know in real life. It was just some girl in my dream.
Okay.
And I thought she was really hot, but I specifically remembered that she had a boob on her throat. And thinking about it when I woke up, I was like, what the hell was that? That's disgusting.
Oh, boy. Oh,
that is
me,
disgusting.
Oh,
it looked like a big mump. Why did my brain think that was hot?
I got nothing. Anyways.
I've never told anyone about this dream, and now I'm telling the world.
Yeah, such the world it is. Thank you for listening.
That
thank you
has
for
no
continuing
meaning.
to put up with us.
Some might infer that must mean that I'm attracted to people's necks, but I'm not. I don't
No,
think.
well, you think, okay, wouldn't it actually say the opposite, and that you're attracted to breasts because you're seeing breasts where they shouldn't be?
Damn it, you're right.
Just saying. Anyway.
I am more of a boob guy. Anyways.
Now that we have lost all of our female listeners for the episode.
I appreciate a good chiseled peck for a man, too.
Yeah, but those aren't. Anyway, moving on.
That'd be a weirder dream if I imagined someone's chiseled peck on their neck. It even rhymes.
Hey, there you go. Peck on the neck.
Not that different kind of peck, yeah.
Wouldn't that just be a hickey?
Yeah.
Anyway, but like trying to even remember dreams when you wake up, it's like, what the heck just happened? And then the longer you stay awake, the less you remember, right?
Yeah.
There's probably a reason for this. Most of the time. Although I do remember, since Donald shared one, I got to share one too.
Yes.
I don't remember when this was. It was so long ago that I was crushing very, very hard on this young woman.
This is where a lot of dreams go, unfortunately.
And we were two servants in a mansion together, and we were asked to prepare the guest room for a visitor.
Oh.
And so we're both on opposite sides of the bed, fixing the sheets. And suddenly,
oh God,
we're on the bed. And
oh God,
right as we start kissing, I wake up.
Yep.
God dang it, I want to go back to the dream, you know.
See, that's a normal dream. Like, no boob necks in that one.
No, but like I was saying, the rate at which dreams change is so weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're in school and you're showing somebody around who shouldn't be at that school, and suddenly you're naked because you forgot to bring clothes or something and you didn't realize that beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way that those things go, it's like neurons firing in your brain practically speed. It's
I mean, I think that's exactly literally what it is.
Well, probably so. But I remember one, it's for some reason I had a person from my high school days and my college days who should not have known each other at all, and they were in a raft together on the Nile. Why? I don't know.
I had another dream recently where me and friend of the show, Natasha.
Oh boy.
Who
Thanks for listening. If you're listening, Natasha,
I've actually told her about this dream.
Oh,
I
okay,
thought
you don't have to cover your ears.
We started a spin-off of Paleo Bites called just Reptile Bites, where we talk about modern-day reptiles.
Snake bites.
Something like that, yeah.
Neck bites.
Anyway, so I told her about that, and she thought that'd be great. So, I just thought that was a funny. Anyways,
Fair enough.
Basically,
I'm not even done answering my answer because we keep interrupting.
Anyways, sorry, finish your thing, and then I basically said what mine is. So
transcribing that to your pages doesn't have to veer so far as to be nonsensical if there's nothing additional invented. I believe.
Basically, surrealism and nonsensical, they have a lot in common. They're like each other's evil twins.
Oh, God.
Yes, they're both each other's evil twins. They're evil in different ways. It makes more sense in my head.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, and, nonsensical things generally don't hit.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't want to make light of the people who have made a living off of it. Lewis Carroll wrote Alice in Wonderland, which we mentioned at the top of the episode.
And I heard that was one of the problems people had with the Alice in Wonderland remake from 2010, the live-action one. It had a point. It made it like this epic story, and I'm like, that's not what Alice in Wonderland is.
Well, the story Alice in Wonderland does have a point, actually.
No, I know, but it doesn't have like a Lord of the Rings style plot.
No.
Not
typically. Anyway.
Maybe it's more so than having a point. It had a plot, is what
If it has a reason, it can't be nonsense.
Anyways, that's it for this week. A huge thank you to our patrons so far.
And if you're still interested in becoming a patron after listening to this episode, please go check that out. Patreon.com/Matthew Donald.
Matthew Donald. Anyways, speaking of Matthew Donald, i.e. me, you can follow me on social media at Matthew Donald Creator on Facebook, at Matthew Donald 64 on Twitter, and Matthew Donald 64 on Instagram. Why 64? Because that's how many times I've committed tax fraud.
Oh my God! And again,
I'm
you
still
said
on the
you
run.
did Deeds last week. No.
Anyways, you can find me.
But if you want to get in touch with us,
yes, I was saying my email. If you want to get in touch with me, government, because I'm invincible, is mattd@matthewdonaldcreator.com.
If the government is writing, don't write David because it's all directed at this.
It's
guy,
all directed
right?
at me.
Right? I hope.
Look at all the tax fraud I've committed. Next up, insurance fraud.
Officers! I still haven't responded since last week.
See, I'm invincible.
Officers! He's in here!
I'm Matt Donald.
I'm Matt David.
And keep on ridding and keep on...
Thanks for listening to the Rit Wit.
Wash your hands.
I'm still here next week, you'll find out.
I'm going to be in witness protection program next.
All right, we'll see you. We'll see you next time. Keep on ridding.
Keep on ridding. I said it was Matt Donald. You're Matt David. Anyways.
I did say Matt.
Yeah, we did say it. Anyway. But it's surreal. Ooh. The Rit Carl, I might need you still. Be on standby.